Silence, solitude, and stillness, one of the fun things about them is they're not particularly spiritual. They're the sine qua non of the spiritual life, but they aren't particularly spiritual. By that I mean there's nothing weird and froofy about them at all. If prayer is basically just conversation with God, my responding to what God is already saying, then all of these things they're just the basics of listening. They're not anything spiritual or special. They're just what you do in any conversation. If you're going to be in conversation with somebody who's speaking to you, just like you're doing right now, you have to stop. You have to be silent. You have to pay attention. You have to give your exclusive attention to the person speaking. These are just the basic, most simple postures of any kind of listening that you might have. You can distinguish them out, and you can talk about silence and solitude and stillness as three different things, and you can practice them separately, etc. But they really, at the end of the day, are just three facets of the same jewel of faith. The way I distinguish it in my head is that silence is the act of surrendering control. Solitude is the act of abandoning other gods, and stillness is submitting to God's care. Silence is the act of surrendering to God's control. The beginning place of silence in the Christian life is repentance. The beginning place of silence before the Lord is that when I cover my mouth, or even metaphorically, when I set aside my worries, that is a repentant act. It's an act of, Lord, you are God. I'll shut up. Silence is also the I don't need to answer the judge. I don't need to give my own defense. I can stay silent because Christ will defend me. Solitude, the beginning place of silence in the Christian life, is repentance. The beginning place of silence before the Lord is that when I cover my mouth, or even metaphorically, when I set aside my worries, that is a repentant act. It's an act of, Lord, you are God. I'll shut up. Abandoning other gods. If in silence I give up control, then solitude is getting away. Now, physically, that means being alone with God, not being alone. Solitude's not being alone. Solitude's being alone with God, because I abandon all other gods. I abandon all other things that would give me approval, all other things that I would look to make me feel valuable, to answer the question, who am I and am I worth something? I abandon all those other things to go be with the only one who can answer that question certainly and surely, the Lord himself. Stillness is submitting to God's care. Stillness is an act of worship. It's a courageous attending. It takes a lot of effort, in a sense, to stop striving so much and really actually say, this can wait. I don't need to do this. Why can it wait? Because the Lord calls me his beloved. It's an act of courage, putting myself under God's care.